Oh, yes, I did. Yeah.
There's not one.
Yeah.
I mean, by the beginning of the. Yeah, when you leave.
No,
Between
or the down.
wild animals.
Now we worked about $831 million.
Yeah. Because the.
Yeah.
About that.
Have meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. That was, Brian, do you have this one?
It's supposed to this one.
Oh,
We are live. Student rep right after I do my presentation on whole business. so you-
yeah, he's old, okay,
So we'll
Yeah,
put them in
thank you.
right before new business and save them along.
yeah. Okay, thank you, you'll be the first one in business. All right. Adjustment, welcome, and audience introduction. Kenny?
Kenny Robbins, Director of Village Grounds and Transportation.
Galen Thompson, is what you're going to.
Charlie Swan, report, yes.
Kevin DeBay, doing that, your collectible.
Heidi Connolly, Director of Special Services for the district.
Jason Walker, Leader of the School Curriculum Coordinator for the district.
Jay Nicholson, bus driver.
There's a no interested
Katie Holton, Office Manager, Village Council, and also class advisor of the freshman class.
Christine Munch, Karen Arsh. Marley Bailey.
I'm Heidi Romal, I'm a teacher here at the high school, and I'm the president of the Teachers Association. And Rachel Buck, I'm a social worker at Deerfield High School and a citizen of Duluth.
Well, I didn't get your last name. Thank you. Yeah. All right, adjustments to the agenda. We do have one adjustment. Could I get a motion, please?
So
And a second, comments, questions? All those in favor? Thank you. Consideration of the minutes of the February 25th, 2025 board meeting. Could we get a motion, please? And the second? Second. Comments, questions, revisions?
I do have a question about that.
Yeah.
Isn't Barb Vaughn the head custodian at Deerfield Elementary School and not DHS?
Correct.
Where was that?
Thank you.
Under resignation.
Third page, down at the bottom.
Above community committee reports, Carrie, then Barb. Okay. Thank you. Any other corrections? I will do that right now. Seeing none with that correction, all in favor? Opposed, non-voting? Julie? Okay. The minutes of, revised minutes of the January 28th, 25 board meeting or special meeting?
14, January 15.
Oh. There's one, just the one page, I guess.
Because that was the correction that you were looking for.
Yeah.
I, in saving trees, I only
Okay.
did the one page.
And you already made the motion and seconded last time to change it, so it was just you to add.
So we really don't need a vote because we approved that revision. Okay, that's right, there's no motion in second.
There is no, I did not put it there.
Public comment, this is the time the public can make a comment nicely. Well, be nice. Be nice, respectful. All right. Yes, nobody, communications,
I have no new communications for the board.
old business, are you up, Bruce?
I am. Well, Region 9 Board of Directors met the first Wednesday of each month. We did have a quorum, so we went over more or less the same scenarios we do here with approving the minutes, signing the warrants. We had a a citizen had concerns about some of the programs, so we had actually have added in so that we had comments from the audience. We went over, the finance committee has been working on the new budget. We're still working on numbers, that's why we haven't presented anything towards what we're looking for the ascending schools yet. The programs and the facility programs haven't met, neither has the facilities or the policy. We had a staff report by Dr. Murphy, who is our adult education department. He's been explaining how the program is going and how he's been in contact with Pam. And then also been in contact with Deb Alden up at RSU 10. He's been able to actually get a few people who probably wouldn't have gotten their high set graduation requirements done if it wasn't for these programs that he's offering. They also, in the adult education, they've sent out flyers of some of the other programs that they're offering. It's another one, again, another thing that's really, you know, might not have a lot of numbers, but the few that he's getting are people that would have never gotten any type of diploma. We also got a presentation from Wendy Hebert. She does our CNA program. We actually got to go up into her room and see what everything looks like. One of the mannequins would kind of take you by surprise because its eyes open, it does all kinds of things. It is a high tech. Some of the equipment she has up there is pretty high tech. I mean, you would think it was a person laying in that bed. So it was pretty amazing. You go up and feel the pulse of the person, and they learned all the different things that they can do. Then we went down, there's another Mr. Trennerworth, he does our heavy equipment program. We got to go down and see his room. He did a presentation on what he does for his classroom and what everything looks like. So he went from CNA to heavy equipment, little changes the thing, but it was pretty neat to see what these programs are doing. What we've been doing each time we're meeting is we're getting a different director or different instructor that's been taking and explaining what their programs are doing. So in the staff reports, that's why you'll see that I'll alter periodically. The superintendent's advisory committee met. The biggest thing that they've been working on is now trying to get a concrete number of what students are going to get if they go to Region 9. In the corporate agreement, they have till the new corporate agreement, which starts July 1st, like every contract. And what it's going to be doing is it's going to have, and this is kind of a draft, but they're going to have numbers down of what a student would go. And I'll use the example of an automotive technology. In the automobile technology one, they would allow them to get an English credit for a 10th and 11th. They'd get a math, a geometry, half a science, half a future perspective, and elective. So it's now getting down so that no longer is it just they go into Region 9, or they can't go there because they're going to need certain program of certain credits they need at their ascending school. They're actually going to be able to get them at the school. The person's name who was going around quite well was our curriculum director, Jason Long. It's amazing. He's been the most cooperative and been working with these programs and getting things done. They were pretty pleased with all the effort and time he's put into this thing, and so am I, to hear what we've got going on. We're way ahead of the two other ascending schools and what we're approving, what we're accepting for classes. It's pretty sad to think that you could have a student sitting at a classroom of students, and one from Dirigo is going to get certain credits, and one from Mountain Valley is going to get different credits, and one from Telstar is going to get something different. The idea of this whole thing with the cooperative agreement, we're anticipating that it would all congeal together, and lo and behold, that's not happening yet. So we'll wait and see, but right now, that's what we're working on. We're still started to do some recruitments for next year. As of right now, we've got 223 applicants. We're on key right now to being even breaking our records of what we had this year. We've been seeing phenomenal amount of students coming to the Region 9. The programs that they're offering, every time we're wondering whether a program we're going to hold each year when we're going through all the programs, we haven't been able to put a program down. I mean, it's just been amazing. And it's amazing that now with this cooperative agreement, even if the other schools have different amounts of credits you're going to get to them, it's still going to make it so that kids can go there and still get some of the appropriate credits they're gonna need, so they're not gonna have to worry about, oh, I've gotta go back to my Sunday school to get the credits that I need, or I'm not gonna graduate. Other than that, we did a little bit of talk about our new buildings. There's still, things are still finishing up. I think the culinary arts, if I understood, is just about done. The new welding building is still got some tweaks to go on to it. And we've still got to figure out, our biggest pickup that we have with our water issues. Other than that, we were working, like I said, on the budget. Once we have some numbers going, I've never spent so many hours looking over numbers, and I'm gonna be working on them again this week. And we hope to give you guys the numbers as soon as possible.
Thank you, Bruce. Any questions?
Small.
Okay, under new business, we're gonna do the student report first, Camden.
Good evening, everyone. First off, there's no school on Friday, March 21st because of a teacher workshop. The Spring Fling dance that was scheduled for next Friday has been canceled since there's no DJ. The school plans to reschedule it later, but we'll still have activities in the gym on Thursday next week. Spring sports are just around the corner and teams are getting ready for the season. The junior class is working on prom details, and our class advisor sent out a song request form to gather music preferences for the event. As we get closer to the end of the school year, the senior class is preparing for graduation. It's a strange time, full of excitement, but also the realization that high school is almost over. Graduation marks a big change for them, and it's clear they're all ready for what's next. A big shout out to Emily Woods, Nathaniel Wainwright, and Dakota White for competing in the McDonald's All-Star Game last weekend. And of course, we're all still adjusting to daylight savings time. Losing that hour somehow makes the day feel twice as long, but at least it means more sunlight. That's all I have for now. There may be other updates I haven't heard about yet, but these are the ones that have been discussed most recently. Thank you.
Thank you, Camden. Any questions for him? Thank you. You can leave when you want. You can listen.
Since I opened it, it's all twice.
You know.
You can stay there.
Thanks, Drive.
All right, next is Rachel Buck with an update on the trip and a request for busing. Yeah.
You can do either.
So I am Rachel Buck. I am leading a group of 6 kids to Paris and Italy in April. And these are 2 of the kids coming with us. This is Marlon Berry and Griffin Houghton. And we are here with a request.
So we're looking for a request to take a bus to the Portland Transportation Center the morning we fly out. It would be a lot easier as we wouldn't have to drive down and we could go collectively as a group, so we know we have everybody.
If you're able to, we'd also appreciate it for the day that we're coming back, but we understand since that, but we prefer to have it the day that we're.
So we have 6 kids going. Griffin's mom is coming with us. I think that's the only mom who's coming. Oh, and Jada and her grandmother are coming. So we've got 2 kids with parents going, but then we have 4 kids who don't have parents going. And I've already heard from one parent that they were not approved to get that Friday, April 18th off to get her to Portland. And so our request is a 3 a.m. departure from Jericho High School to get us to the transportation center in time to get to Logan by a 10:50 a.m. flight. Go ahead.
Short bus? Assume we're not
Van?
full size bus?
Van or
Probably no room for luggage or anything.
Whatever works, like what we need is the ride to fit. So there are 7 adults going for sure.
So that's
2 are not gonna come with us on the bus. Their daughter lives outside of Boston, so they're gonna go down the night before and see their daughter. So I can work with Terry depending on the number of people who need transport. Dave and myself are going. So we would need help figuring out how to get both of us on the trip, but one of us took like. A bus down would be ideal, whether it's a van, the short bus, I'm not particular. We land, let me rephrase, we are scheduled to land Saturday night, at about 6 o'clock at Logan. And then we could hop the train back to Portland, but I feel like on a Saturday night, we would have more people available to come pick us up in Portland. So what we're really requesting is the bus
You
down,
want the bus?
transportation down.
When is your bus, leaving?
So we would need to be on the 5:45
Yeah.
bus to get us to Logan by 7:10, so that we can be there 3 hours before, and our flight leaves at 10 or 11 in the morning. And then we fly to Montreal. to fly up.
I do the 3:15 bus and I leave at 1. It's not fun.
You just need a motion on this or is?
Or, all right. A motion for the bus.
Make a motion
Yeah.
to approve. I would, to me, it'd be both, but, you know, I don't know if it's a budget thing or not. But I make a motion to approve to.
It
Yeah.
said for busing, it didn't specify, so. And Joyce seconded, comments or questions, Bruce?
So is this one of the educational trips that you guys do? No,
Yeah.
I went on just one, my wife went on two. They always had transportation from here to the airport. What happened?
So the last two that I went on with EF, we had transportation to Portland, and then we took the bus from Portland to Logan.
Okay.
So sometime 10 years ago, we stopped taking people all the way to Logan, and they took us to the Portland Transportation Center.
So they're not taking you to, now this time, they're not offering you transportation at all?
Oh, those people, I don't think we're a big enough group for them to offer us transportation,
Okay,
because we're only 13 people going,
okay,
and we don't make them as much money.
so.
But actually, when I traveled we had 40 people go to Spain in 2015, and then about 40 of us went to London and Paris in 2017. We got a bus from here to the Portland
Which was
Transportation Center,
included,
and then we took the bus from there to Logan. So
things have changed.
things have changed.
And one time we had a limo. That was only me, I forgot where we went, Beth forgot.
How do you rate? Is that like a board chair thing?
No, so people would drive the bus, so Beth forgot to get the right time, so thank God I have Andrea Palmer on my side.
Wow.
Ryan when he was doing it.
So how will that affect our transportation? Is there someone that we're going to have for a driver that's going to do that? I'm all for finding a reasonable way to get them down. I do not find it reasonable for us to be picking you up, simply because that's an uncertainty. I mean, I
Yeah.
cannot send a driver down there and expect him to be back in Portland at X.
Well, I would
And
communicate
Call
with
from
yeah.
the
with
airport.
Terry if we got delayed in Chicago
I'm
and,
hoping if you could do it on a Saturday, you could find your way back. Asking district both ways, I think is, you know, you might be running some gray areas from my perspective.
When is the trip on?
we are coming back on Saturday, April 26th.
I'd say I'd volunteer for the ride back if you need wheels.
Thank you.
So,
It is,
No
it's it's school vacation week, so we're only missing one day of school,
April 26th.
which is.
That was a serious offer, by the way. If we
Thank you.
don't approve the bus, then I've got a couple vehicles if we have to.
Okay, I appreciate that greatly.
Okay, any other questions? Have fun.
Thank you. We'll miss you.
I know,
Yeah, right.
it's really different, I have,
Do you have,
it's been a long time.
do you have an appropriate motion of what you're motioning to vote? for?
Well, he approved
For down and back.
for down and
Not
back.
to Boston, let's be clear, to.
For the Portland Transportation Center, yeah.
And did I get you got a second? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Good, have fun.
Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we'll be back after with pictures from our trip and a report of how, what the experience was like for the kids.
That'll be great.
And you're hopefully a good guy.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, the bad guy is depressing. Brian, you're up, right?
Yes, he is.
She was, and one way that I want to, I said, I don't need to do it. I would think.
All right, so I'm here tonight to do our budget presentation for technology. You guys all should have paper in front of you. Budget menu, memo, and another sheet that we'll talk about afterwards. Going through, I'll kind of hit a few points, I won't go line by line, but our goals that do tie into our strategic plan. Improving parent and community involvement in our students' education through using our digital platforms. Communication, continuing to improve their access to online educational programming, assessments, and other online content to the our district's network. Increasing the effectiveness, quality, and reliability of our equipment that teaching staff uses every day in their classroom, and providing high quality teaching to staff members. Continue to provide quality one-to-one devices to all staff and students and all grades pre-K through 12. So if you look through, I've broken our budget out into a few different areas, mainly covering materials and support staff to provide resources to all of our students. Staff members, the budget for the upcoming year continues to include monies for equipment, software maintenance, license agreements, repairs and maintenance to devices, internet service in the district, and salaries and benefits of our staff. So I've broken it down into 6 categories. Starting out, probably one of our largest, with our PowerSchool system. For our school information system, we've used PowerSchool in our 3 schools now for just at 17 years. So it houses all of our student data from when we started with the system until now. At this point, we are not 100% sure if the state is going to fully fund or partially fund our PowerSchool SAS as they have the last 4 years, I believe. It's tied up in the state's budget discussions, so we don't have a 100% answer on that.
So what do they usually fund? You said S.
They give us a portion, it varies year to year, but they cover, the last couple of years, they've covered a majority of our SIS.
Student information. system.
Thank you. You love your, yeah,
Sorry.
thank you.
Second section would be our cybersecurity and student data privacy. We have a portion of our budget that includes funding for our internet security software, the antivirus program, our backup and restore software for our Google Drive system, which is all backed up, even though it is hosted on the cloud, along with our administrative and secretary devices have backup software on those as well. Also, software to protect our networking data from any cyber attacks that may come out, and the membership to TECH, Education Collaborative, which covers our student data privacy attorney fees. Next, we staffing and devices. So our tech budget covers myself and 2 IT specialists. Currently housed one at the elementary school, and the second one covers here at the high school, and then also the middle school. Devices, our device plan for the next year, we'll be looking towards replacing our grade 2 iPads. Most of that money will come from the MLTI 2.0 program, with a small regular share coming out of our local budget as a match. Training, so there are funds in our budget request to cover PD, including our PowerSchool University trip that, depending on the year, 1 or 2, 3 of us may go to. So we do have those funds as well. PowerSchool University is the training that covers anything that may have changed in this PowerSchool software, new updates, anything like that. Safety and security. So this is a major piece of our budget this year. Includes replacing the intercom system at Darrell Elementary School. The original system at Darrell Elementary School, when the building was built in 2007, 2008, that system is actually starting to fail on us. Conveniently, like everything, we can't get replacement parts for that. Because the company that actually manufactured that is no longer in business. We've had a little luck booking the vendor that we use now has had a little luck looking on eBay and finding a few of the smaller parts that we needed. However, the next piece that is assuming we will need to replace, we cannot find. Or at least cannot find for a decent price for sure. So we have written 3 different grants over the past couple of years to try to get that funded. However, we have not received any of those. Just haven't had luck. The estimated cost of the replacement of that system alone is $48,000. Due to, main reason being due to the size of the building, the amount of speakers and things that are all tied into it. So it takes our overall total of our tech budget for 25-26 as an increase of $80,829. Like I say, 48,000 of that is all on one item. So I will move on and look at our proposed add-ons. I have 2 proposed add-ons for the technology budget. First one being a network administrator / IT position for the district. My dream goal is to go back to having 1 person in each building. Makes it a lot easier for just day-to-day management of the department, making sure requests are dealt with. Being both teacher requests, administrator requests to cover events or things. And then also looking at having part of that position dedicated to specifically looking at our data network. Making sure we're as up to date as we can be with security updates to the network. Different cybersecurity things, just to make sure we have coverage when needed. Currently, a lot of that work is being outsourced to 2 different IT provider companies that we use. I'd love to bring that in-house just because that would give me a little more control over when things get looked at, when they get fixed. And it's also, I think, long-term would be a savings to the district over the rates that we're paying currently. And then I did include a bunch of other information on that position, in terms of ticket counts and response times on the attached sheet as well, if you guys are interested in any of that. And like I said, the salary and benefits of that position to add it on will be approximately 90,000, depending the salary. The second add-on item, bringing you guys, I think I should maybe talk about again during the board, that all other lines when Mary does them later. If not, we're doing, okay, I'll do it now. So school board streaming, was cut from the last year's budget. And we were very creative and Mary did a lot of work to help find some money. To get that back in for this year. So in order to continue streaming the meetings for the next year, we would have to be in addition to the budget of 2,500.
Can we put it in our, where we took the money from? Or would that not be considered? When we took it out of the board for this year, didn't take it out of professional development for the board?
You take it out of something from the board this year.
It was something from the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we just stick it. I
Right,
guess-
it would still be an add-on to that
Yeah.
department, but yeah.
Because we know that's something that people really.
What, any questions that I can answer? You must have questions.
Go ahead, Brad.
Talk to me about PA system 48 grand. The first question from a couple is, what's failing? For a system
So
that's not really that old.
So actually in PA systems, it is old. And the problem is, so there's a couple different problems with it. The first one is there's some issues with the actual intercom phone that you pick up to make the calls. The problem with that, one of the major problems with that system is there's only one call. There's only one place where you can actually make an all call from. And it's in the main office where all the windows are at DES. So if there is, God forbid, something that happens for a security issue or, a shooting, anything like that, if there's an emergency that happens, nobody is there. So that you can't do an all call anymore. The systems we have in our other buildings actually run off of our regular phone system. So it doesn't matter what room you're in, you could be in a closet, the main office, the kitchen, doesn't matter where you are. You pick up the phone, hit the correct button, and you can page access the entire building. The new system would give the option for that. The problem is the old one, you can't. There's one voice interface on it, and that's all there is.
So do we have? I don't, maybe you know this answer. Get all these fancy new TVs, can we broadcast through that? Can we, in a cheaper way, address the spaces that don't have those? And wouldn't I'm assuming you've got a PBX here that you're hosting?
No.
So we don't have it like voice exchange,
I shouldn't say that. We do. It's not at that building. It's here at the high school.
but we have it, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
there's capability there to do barging and calling and all that stuff. Is there,
Not, you can page individual phones, yes. Those pages cannot go out over the speakers in the classroom.
is it based
So
on
that-
our system's limitations? So,
Yes and no.
okay,
The hard part is with a lot of those paging, phone systems, if you're using the intercom built into the phones, you're limited to just the speaker on the phone.
right.
So that's why you need the additional add-on piece of the separate PA system. Because that'll actually control the speakers, that building, the other thing that's involved with it is the clock. The clocks in the classroom are tied into that system as well. So there's a few different pieces to it. The other reason why the cost is so high in that building is because of the amount of speakers.
So
I
are the
believe
speakers
every
failing,
single,
Brian?
what's that?
Are the speakers failing?
No, the speakers are fine.
So
This is reusing. the
You really have a
existing
unit that does all this,
This is essentially a box that we're buying.
that's 48 grand.
It's 40-ish with the installation, the configuration, connections, things like that. But that's basically the control box to run it.
That's a lot.
It is,
But I also know that you're very good at finding alternatives if
like I said,
there's one to be had.
well, like I said, we've written a few different grants for it and they keep getting turned down. We've written the Homeland one, I believe the Homeland one's been done twice now for the intercom specifically. Yeah, we haven't got bites off it.
Thank you for that.
Okay, any other questions for Brian? Go ahead, Bruce.
You said on some of the IT materials that you've been outsourcing, you said would save you some money. How much have you been spending in money?
So it varies. We run roughly per hour. When I have the network company come in, it's roughly 200 per hour, per person.
What did you spend this previous year or up to this calendar year of this year?
I would have to look.
Because, I mean, when you're looking at a salary and benefit of 90,000 and having a person, I mean, are you spending $90,000 in the calendar
No.
year?
Not on network in calling, no. But like I said, that would only be the network piece would only be a portion of this person's duties. A lot of the rest of it would be things in the actual building where I don't have somebody now. And going back to having the ability to quickly respond, keep our ticket count down, and provide some things we're not doing now. Right now, since I've lost a third person, we're doing very little in classroom support. I actually have our middle school office and high school office where we don't have somebody in either building all the time. They have spare devices that they go through. If a student comes in, instead of seeing the tech person, if Pete's not in this building, for example, they'll go to the main office and say, hey, my device is broke. They'll do a switch out and then the secretary handles it. It's kind of a middle point person. The hard part is that takes out a few things that we could fix on the spot, but then it's taking time from that student away. But
Any other questions? Thank you, Brian. Okay. I was gonna say it's, show. Miss Mary.
So in your package, you also have a sheet that looks like this, with a grid on it, and all the numbers. Not gonna go through everything, but we'll get the high points, then if you have any questions, you can ask me. So the first cost center that's listed is the board of directors. And as you can see, that's increasing by $6,200 due to the cost of the annual audit, which will be going up, and also the increased liability insurance. We aren't sure what the insurance percentage increase will be yet, but they told us 9 to 12, so we put in 12, and hopefully that'll be enough. The board election services for $1,200, that is for the printing of ballots. Office of the superintendent. Brian was kind enough to reduce our copier and printer maintenance lease lines, so that's going down a little bit. And I should have said at the beginning that these amounts that you're seeing for the proposed budget and the 24-25 budget don't include the payroll benefit lines except for the food service. These are just other things that we can control. The business office, that amount is going up because we're now going to cover the Power School applicant tracker and human resources module along with our active fund accounting software. Teacher certifications remaining the same. Food services remaining the same. Gina will speak about that in just a minute. Major capital debt service, that's for the elementary school. And as you can see, it's going down $36,000. We will be paying less interest, and it's interesting, this is the first time that this has ever happened. We actually have a credit on the interest, so the 674 is less than the principal amount, but we have a credit on interest. They refinanced, the main bond bank refinanced twice, and so they did a good job because we aren't paying any interest this coming year. And then in 26, 27, and 27, 28, that will decrease each of those years, and that will be the last year that we'll have to have the debt service in the budget. The elementary school will be paid off at that point. Out of district transportation, you can see that's a very large increase, and that 661% change looks all the more worse because of the small budget amount. But we know that we overspent in that line in 23-24. We're most likely going to overspend what we have budgeted for 24-25, so we're bumping that up to what we feel we need. As Kenny talked to you about, there's more needs for transportation, and this is only if we pay Ride Source or an individual to transport. If it's transportation from our people, then that doesn't get charged this line. English language learners staying the same. Health services, the nurses put the budget together and they decreased mostly the new equipment line. They had purchased a new audiometer in 24-25 for $1,000, so that's where most of that decrease came from. And then gifted and talented had decreased last year by $4,000 for their budget, and so they just wanted to have a few more supplies this year, and that's why that's a slight increase. Any questions?
No.
No?
We're all good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mary. Gina, you're up.
I don't think it's on.
There's no mic.
Okay. Yeah, just
yell.
the owl is listening.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the mission of the nutrition department. Is contribute to the students' academic success by providing well-balanced nutritious meals, promoting lifelong healthy eating habits, served by caring professionals in a pleasant environment. Staffing has stayed the same. I just told you this, but Derigo Elementary School has 3 staff with 1 person in charge at 7 hours, 2 helper positions, 1 at 6 1/4 and 1 at 5 1/2. The middle school is 3 staff with 1 production manager at 8 hours, 2 helper positions, 1 at 6 1/4 and 1 at 4. And the high school is 2 staff consisting of 1 person in charge with 6 3/4 hours and 1 helper at 4 hours. I'm not asking for staffing changes. We will stay with the same staff next year. The school nutrition department, the budget is a zero-based budget. But because of salary and benefits, we have a hard time meeting this. So all the funds needed are expected to become out of reimbursement. Like I said, we have a hard time with that because of salary and benefits. I am asking to hold my budget requests steady at the 167,793, with 6,000 of that being software maintenance. The vision of the department is to offer nutritional, visually appealing meals to students and staff, leading to increased participation by offering more scratch-cooked meals, and continue improvement in regards to equipment needs that utilize new ideas to gain student access to meals. We are scheduled for, it looks like we are not gonna spend all of this year's money. So I am proposing put some improvements into our program and into the buildings, actually. Kenny actually had asked about $6,000 for the water booster here in the dish machine. We keep getting written up for this. So I'm proposing that we take it out of this leftover money this year. And the outside kitchen door, both the middle school and high school should be replaced for the kitchens. The middle school, you can actually see light underneath, and I believe the same here. So that would be $9,400. And I was looking at purchasing a dough sheeter for pizza dough. We have been making our own homemade crusts for the middle school and high school. We are rolling them out by hand, but I would like to put that at the middle elementary school as well. And that actually is a lot of time, is they actually serve quite a bit of meals. I will go on to say the reason we are asking for the same amount of money and we haven't been continually using our money is because the federal government is saying they're looking at reducing $3 million into the nutrition programs. I just got notified that the federal part of local food money, everybody should know this, has been cut. We didn't actually get, we only had a little, like $900 so far this year. We have never been given this amount, this year's amount. So we're not getting that. We will get the state funding. For every $3 we spend, we'll get the dollar back as of right now. There are other proposals coming forward with the budget at the federal level. And what they want to do is for, right now, our district does still take for reduced applications because the applications are tied to other funding for the school. They want to propose that any parent guardian that fills out a free reduced application provides the proof of income at the time of the benefit application, which we do feel will greatly impact the amount of applications we get. Because people, as of right now, I just take it at face value, and then we have to choose so many that we have to verify, and when I send out for verification, we don't get response. So I can feel going to really hurt us.
Just a quick question, Gina. I know there was another thing we were using. Not a survey, but a different thing besides just the free and reduce.
So if we decided to go with the CEP, which I would be very hesitant to go in that direction. That's what Rumford does currently. That has been your direct cert list, kids that are on get food stamps or directly certified from the state. It had traditionally been 50% in the school. They were dropping it to 25.
Oh,
now they're putting it back up to 60. We won't make the 60. The other thing is we could take, if we wanted to take applications the next year, and then it would be a 4-year cycle. But we had decided in the past that wasn't in our best interest because we were trying to get.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I think I hear what you're saying, but my concern is, tell me if I'm wrong, please. It sounds like we're saying if we do something a certain way, we won't continue to get away with not verifying income. And I get it. It's gonna hurt us, but there's doing things the right way. And then there's using loopholes to skirt the rules. And it sounds to me like certainly there's a question mark around federal everything right now. I get it. And state can't predict the budget. So I would just not want to see us in a position where we're making choices. That, like, I personally believe that we should verify. It's work, I get it.
So
But that, you know what I'm getting
right,
at.
right now, we don't have to verify.
Right.
That should do it. And if we wanted to go with the community eligibility provision, we would only take applications 1 year, but we would have already had to do that.
They're vetted right at that point.
Right.
So to speak.
Yes.
And so you're saying when you do a spot check.
Yeah.
Okay, parents don't respond, do we then cut it off and just say, "Gotta pay"?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, if they are picked to be verified and they don't respond.
so they
they
don't
automatically-
skate, they're just like,
Right.
well, you're gonna have to pay for lunch.
Really, it doesn't do a lot for that family because they still get free because the state picks up the difference.
Okay,
So,
good to understand that, thank you.
Bruce?
You said you had still some money left over in your budget. How much do you have left over? You said you could cover you were looking at least covering the dishwasher. What else?
Water, the doors.
I'm doing, but I won't be.
No, but I mean, I know what's going on. Left over.
Yeah, I
money
think there's more money beyond this.
Can you mention the doors?
Yeah.
The doors really.
Yeah.
In fact, that was of all
They
the
need
things
to
that gotta be
be
done.
replaced and I'm looking rather than cut something else. We can do that.
So the amount of the 24-25 budget to help with salaries and benefits for the food service department is $160,000. And I did some calculations, because obviously we haven't ended the year yet. It's looking like the program will need to have about 60,000 to break even. So 60,000 move from general budget over to food service. So 60 of the 160 will be used.
That will be a surplus, that will be
So there'll be 100,000.
$100,000 left over. Oh, okay, so. There's the doors, dishwasher and a few other things.
So one more question,
Go ahead.
does that mean that we can buy salt for the kids?
I what?
Salt,
Oh, I know, they don't
That,
have.
no, that is one, we have to watch their calories, the sodium intake, and actually the sodium intake is going down. Right now.
so we serve pizza.
Yeah.
But we're worried about salt.
Bruce?
So, Mary's, this is gonna be a Mary question, I guess, and maybe Gina will answer it as well. How can we move this money, this excess to get this, so it doesn't all end up back in the general fund? If there's $100,000 left over in nutrition, we can earmark it for these 3 projects.
Right, and then when the bills come in for those projects, I will just charge them to general fund. And what has to be moved over to nutrition is just a journal entry to cover the wages and benefits. And then whatever's left over beyond that would go towards carryover as of June 30.
So how would we move, what do you want, or what would we need to do as a board to make this move forward?
No, nothing.
So it will move
It's in
forward.
the general fund right now.
If you give general consensus tonight, it's gonna be done. Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah, and Kenny gets 2 things off that.
Can you smile at that?
I know.
The door, I'm excited now.
Well, I hope it moves forward, because it definitely is, and once again, every time we do things like this, it's improving our district.
Absolutely.
You're probably
And I
saving
will-
us money if you can see outside.
Well, that came all around.
Every year we have
Fair
to
exchange,
spend money, but I will say
Fair
that if we did it a different way than what Mary does, if we took what was earmarked for us and put it in school nutrition, now it becomes federal funds, I wouldn't be able to replace the door. I would have been able to replace the booster.
Booster.
I could have did the booster because that was for the dishes, but the door, no, because that would have been capital improvement.
Okay,
So we're better doing it the way we do it.
Okay, and legal.
I just,
It
Yeah,
is
It's
legal.
legal, there's nothing wrong with it, because it's,
I just want you to get done.
that, I mean, it's district's money.
Okay, any other questions?
This doesn't have to do with budget, but on the subject of we don't provide salt. What about sugar? There is limits on sugar. Yep, there's a limits on sugar, and like yogurts, they have to be so many calories, so many grams of sugar per calorie, yes. Yep, we do watch the sugar, we watch the sodium.
did you guys make the cookies?
But
You make these cookies?
those,
Nobody's
are,
watching sugar in these things.
no, those aren't legal.
These are for the board.
Oh, there you go.
The sugar and salt. in there.
I'm not sure I want your cookies if that's what it is.
Buy salt.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Thank you, Gina. All right, Pam, you're next.
Sorry, it's that time of year that you're just gonna get a budget update every time we have a board meeting.
It's all right.
You don't have a clicker, or do I have to rely on you?
You just stand there and go click and they'll change it.
I'll lay them on the head. Okay, so this is just the update for March 11th. Go right on to the next one.
Cookie. Oh, wait a minute, there ain't nothing there yet.
Hey Pam, can you just remind you that 9 o'clock, I don't need to be here.
Yes.
Wait, actually, it's
It's gonna go fast. I'm
It
gonna go
depends
through
on
this.
Charles.
So as always, I'm just gonna go through this each time, so you know how we work at the budget. We always start with, how does it support the strategic plan? What's best for our students? How do we support our employees? And how do we respond to community concerns? As I told you last time, there are some positives. The state intends to remain at the 55% of EPS cost covered. We have our 277,500, which we typically use each year to start our budget. We've locked in heating, fuel, diesel, and all of that stuff. And we have a significant increase in our preliminary ED 279 of over $830,000. And I just got heard that they passed the budget to go to the next step at the state. So hopefully
That's good.
that will all come to fruition. We also have some concerns. We have unknowns. We have 2 contracts that are currently being negotiated. So that will include salary and benefits for both. And one of the contracts also includes all of our stipends. We have a health insurance increase coming at us. We budgeted 12%. Hopefully that's enough. We have property and casualty increases coming. I have limited confidence in the preliminary ED 279. Hopefully with the budget passing, we can get our actual ED 279. Concerns still around federal funding. I got an email on Friday. I said to Mary, went in and I'm like, I don't know why they sent this, because it says, we expect all federal funds to continue to flow into the state and our schools as normal, underlined, bolded, and the next sentence said, however, everything is in a state of, I'm like, yeah, but what said this to me? I don't know. And we don't know Region 9 costs. So, last Friday when I was covering high school, we got notice that the maximum increase for insurance could be as much as 17.89%. That might have been my face. In fact, Mary called to make sure I was okay and not like hiding it out and saying we're curled up in a ball. So we won't know our specific cost until April 11th, but we have 12% in. I'm hoping it's not this 17.89% that comes our way. So all of the rest of this, as you know, because of all of the unknowns, are rough numbers. I hate to use rough numbers, as does Mary, but we're collecting this budget the best we can. So last time I was in front of you, we were at a 6.78% budget to budget increase to maintain what we have. You want it to be at 5%, and you can see what Canton would be at a minus 4.5%. Athens would be -5, Dixfield would be a 0.5% increase, and Peru would be a minus 1.78. So next, please. So actually, since we met last time, it's actually a 8.18% budget to budget increase. I had to add $192,822 for some students that have moved in that have out of district placements. That covers their placement and their transportation. And as Brian pointed out, we had to put in the 2,500 for streaming board meetings. Remember, this is all gonna be rough. Right now, payroll and benefits alone would be a 4.06% increase, and the special ed requirements increased the budget by 2.6%. So that would be a total of 6.66, that's beyond our control. So Bruce asked what our impact on a $100,000 house would be. So Mary did reach out to the towns. And we got this information. We asked them what would happen at a 4% increase, a 5% increase, or a 6% increase. Canton, I'm gonna just go with the 5% in the middle, because that's where you were aiming for, would be going down by $58. Carthage would be going down by $58.88. Dixfield would be up $6, and Peru, we were told, would be no impact at any of those. So as you can see, if you look across, It's about a $30 plus or minus a dollar or two swing for each percentage increase, for each of the towns.
Isn't that usually per thousand, 100,000?
It's, no, it's usually per 100,000 when we ask.
Well, maybe I don't understand it, but if I looked at Carthage, it would mean that for every $100,000 in value, I'm paying
Yes.
$58. Let's say that was a positive number. That means my taxes are like blown to the roof way too high right now then. If
No, they would go up, the increase or decrease
per 100,000,
per 100,000.
because I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know that's how like residents understand the increase in value, because isn't it per thousand in value? Somebody tell me. if I'm wrong.
The mill rate's about.
Mary's gonna address this.
So what we asked the towns, and we've been doing this for a long time, but we let the towns calculate it for us because I don't know their finances. If your house is valued at $100,000, let's look at Dixfield because it's easier to talk about an increase. So if your house is valued at $100,000 and the RQ56 budget ends up being 5% increase budget to budget, they're saying that your taxes would go up $6 for the year. If your house is valued at $100,000.
You're not taking into consideration anything else in the town,
Right,
Oh, yeah.
just the
That-
impact of the school budget.
if your house is valued at 200,000, they're estimating that in Dixfield at 5%, your taxes will go up
So
$12.
do you think that they did the math based on our request of 100 instead of at mill rates at per 1,000?
That's how it has to be done, because it's not talking about the mill rate for the town, it's talking about an individual taxpayer on their home.
We're just trying to give a homeowner an idea. Most people will know roughly what, when they look at the tax bill, if their house is valued $100,000, $150,000, they'll know exactly what they're looking at for either increase or decrease.
Well, I'm looking at it as a whole, right?
Right, but I mean,
You would.
you could easily bring it down, if you wanted to bring it down to 1,000, you know, to take the $6 and it would be, how many cents was it be? I mean, so people wouldn't understand it that way, but they understand a round number. I mean, no, most people's houses, you know, whatever they range from 100,000, 50,000, 150,000, they can figure whether half of it, that amount, half more, and pretty well figure it out. Whereas if you went just per thousand, like your mill rate, I think people would be really confused what they're doing.
I'll be very happy with my tax. So thank you.
Okay, next slide.
Well, makes sense to me.
So at the last board meeting, you asked us to come in at a 5% budget to budget increase. To get to that 5%, the administrative team needed to look at cutting $446,683. And I just feel compelled to tell you that as the administrative team, this is the push and pull. Because everything that's coming at you next as the potential cuts is both the budget issues. It is not supporting the strategic plan that you have in place. Because the strategic plan would says things like we want to make sure that we attract and maintain good employees and all of those things. And so everything you're going to hear is contrary to the strategic plan, but it does support what you were directed us to do in terms of the budget. So here we go, and they're not in any particular order. So if you decided not to do 5%, we would arrange these according to wherever you landed. We would lose a teacher position at the elementary school. We would lose 2 regular ed interventionists at the middle school. That would impact both the middle school and the high school, however, because in order to have enough bodies to do what needs to be done, we would need to split our world language teacher between the middle school and the high school. We would lose a special ed educational technician at the high school. We would lose a special education ed tech at the elementary school. We would lose the library ed tech 3 that covers the middle school and the high school librarians, basically not having any coverage at those libraries. We would reduce the middle school social work days for a tune of $5,000. We would reduce the Darragh Elementary School contracted social work by $36,250. In addition, we would lose the Darragh High School Girls and Boys Tennis Program. We would lose the high school chess club, the high school ecology club, and the middle school speech and debate programs. As well as we would lose the special education teacher leaders. We would lose Durga High School field trip, we would cut it down by $6,353. We would take $8,000 out of curriculum work wage. We would remove $9,000 from guidance software. We have a hot water system at the middle school that Kenny was looking to upgrade that we would take out. We would miss supplies and equipment, we would reduce by $4,000 at the high school. The ramp at the high school that Kenny had in on the backside would not be able to be repaired. We would lose $2,000 from district curriculum materials. We would not be able to plan for the filter for the PFAS at the elementary school. We would take another $2,308 out of the tech software at the elementary school. And we would not be able to do the kitchen hot water booster at the tune of $5,778.
Except that's what Gina just talked about.
Except.
Yeah, so that's.
Yeah. So that, go ahead.
Where's the rest of the sports? Yeah, how much of the, what are those for?
The sports,
Yeah, because I'll be clear, I would cut sports all day long before I cut teachers' positions. Where we're already like at the bone, so to speak, with what we have. So do we have those numbers to show what girls basketball, boys basketball, football, like all the popular sports?
so
All of them.
when your administrative team prioritized what we were doing to get to 5%, we looked at participation and we felt like the tennis one was the one that was, unfortunately, that was showing up here as the one that for the amount of participants and the coaching stuff that we felt like that was the one we could put up here. We did not feel like we wanted to, I'm gonna say it in two ways. We didn't want to stack the cuts to make people in the community be like, oh, we also felt, so we had that piece to look at, and we also felt like if we decimate our extra and co-curricular activities at Darragh High School, we are going to have a lot of people leaving the district asking for superintendents to go elsewhere because they're good for kids. There's a lot of research around. It's important to be part of the team. And we feel pretty strongly that we want to still give our students as many opportunities as we can in the extra and co-curricular.
So I'll say it on the record. We're here for education. That's not to exclude the importance of sports. To be clear, I was in sports, right? But if we're talking about the quality of our education, that the third rail seems to be girls basketball, boys basketball, soccer, football, you know, the popular ones, which I can see the budget priority of saying, okay, well, we're going to do this, we're going to prioritize, and I think it's thoughtful, but are we really saying that those take a priority over educators? Because that just literally makes, I know we're going to solve this tonight, that makes no sense to me. That we would not have all of those numbers up there, because at some point, this board is going to go, yeah, that sucks, but something's going to go. And I don't know why the speech and debate team kids, and I know it's a small team, should have any more pressure with their budget than the girls' basketball team. When it comes to the academics piece, it's sort of filter of like, what are we here for? To educate children, right? I don't preach to you, man, but I think that's.
It is, but we also, as an administrative team, and I hear what you're saying, and I don't want to decimate education in any way, shape, or form. I am pro-education in every possible way, but we also look at, like, what are we putting on this cut list that if the board wants 5% and we're getting there, the last thing we need is at our meeting, people coming in and saying, we're putting this back in because we want football, we're putting this back in because we want basketball, and they will vote it in here in this. They will vote it in here at the meeting, and then it will fail at the polls. Like, we have to have a budget to work with. We have to put forward something that we believe we can still, like, is it gonna impact education? Obviously, that's a lot of things on the cut list, $460,000 basically, but we have to have a budget, like, it's a yin and yang all the time, and I don't mean to be stumbling over that, I just wanna be clear that we want what's best for our staff and our students. But we've been assigned a job and the administrative team, we put together the best worst list that we have to put together each year. Like, we feel we put a lot of time and energy into it, multiple meetings, and we brought forward to you the cuts that we felt would be.
I'd still like to see the number at some point, even if you just email.
Yeah.
That's fine.
How much was 5% more for insurance? Cause we had budgeted 12, did you still budget 12?
It's still 12 in there, 5% would be about another 100,000.
Only said 17, but which is crap.
That's the math, we don't know yet what ours is going to be, we'll know on April 11th.
Yeah,
Is it, I'd like to make a recommendation and ask for a motion
for,
around the health insurance. And the property and casualty insurance.
well, we can't change it this year. But I did say before on the property one, I said a 12%, I would be shocked. And I think, you know, we can do it. I think we need to.
So
shop.
I wanted to be clear about this a little bit, because I don't know about the health insurance, but in terms of the rest of the insurances. When we went out to bid a couple of years ago.
I remember.
We changed that insurance company. And then the next year it was a fairly substantial increase. Mary called our previous group and they said they would add at least as much. So it's not as though that wouldn't have happened in the other case scenario either, like
I think
happening, I think,
I think there's value in the board directing it to happen. Now, here's what I don't know. Being a health insurance agent. There's a specific time of year where most places are shopping and building their censuses and I don't know what that timeframe is. If we are past being able to submit a census and go out to bid, it is what it is. But
yeah, it would have to be next year if you wanted us to do it. And I would also say that we have contracts that specifically say which health insurance policy we're to have. And so that would need to be through the whole negotiating process. And the last thing that this business office of 3 people needs is some groups having one insurance policy and some groups having another insurance policy, because what you might save, you would end up owing and having another person, because you know, that would take a lot of like in-house work.
No, I get the administrative side. Is it safe to say that maybe we could just have a consensus vote that the recommendation is next year, well in advance, that we put the word out?
See what we get.
Because these companies, the brokers that are selling this are in fact driven by a commission. And if they hear that school districts are going to start shopping other carriers, it will in fact impact their decision to raise the rates. And so just putting them on notice that we are actually going to look. And then maybe what we discover is, oh, no, we're good. I'd like to think that we would push for that.
I think just consensus looking, you know,
That's
because
it.
like you said, they said it was the same. But, you know, when you get double digit, they've got to be accountable sometimes.
If we never push back, they're gonna go, they'll approve it. I've seen it for
Can you
20
look
years.
at what other districts, what places other
What
districts
they
have
have to.
coverage? I mean, are we able to look on, I mean, we've got plenty of surrounding areas around, right up the road to down the road a little bit. Are there any ways to find out what these districts have for health insurance, what these districts have for property and casualty?
I can gather that for next year, if that's like.
Right, I'm just
I think
putting all the ducks in order too. I mean, that would be more information. I know you can't do anything right now, but I guess going along with Brad, let's put them on notice that we're gonna be looking around. We may find that we've got a good deal, maybe we're not gonna move, but we may find that maybe it is time to make some motion to it, but get all the ducks in order, find out if the other districts where they are, we might be finding that where we are.
The last thing I would leave you with is whoever we're shopping through, whoever is our person or our organization that shops for us, trust me, they have arrangements. that lay a lot of control on how they can adjust rates. So I don't know who this is, but we should be looking at another brokerage, another organization to shop with as well. They're out there. And I think there's an opportunity. We should be, I don't know who we're using, so I can't say anything about it. Other than there is a motivation to keep it tightly controlled.
Well, we all show. Yeah, I have no choice, we can't spot. All right.
I'm gonna go through your timeline.
Yeah,
So
go-
next
go-
time we meet, March 25th, the constituents from the 4 towns, Mary's already called and invited them. We do have a snow date of April 1st, if we happen to have a snow date on March 25th. I did move the full tentative budget to the board to April 8th. It was earlier and it's just not gonna be ready with everything that's unknown. And then obviously we moved to April 29th is when the board will vote on the budget. And then May 13th will be the signing of the warrants and the 27th will be here for our meeting, the budget validation hearing, and then June 10th it will be in the accounts.
Go ahead, Liz, sorry.
There was discussion at the selectmen's meeting last night, wondering, they knew they were invited. But they also said that you and Bob had gone down a number of different times and talked to.
I have gone down, Mary and I have gone down, and we will happily do that again to any town that wants us to come
You
to us.
want them to let you know if they
If
want.
they want us, they can have us and we'll come and go through it with them there. And I think I have one more. Just like, if there's any change in direction, this would be the time to let us know. And my last slide is always like anybody in the community, if you have ideas and suggestions, we'd love to hear.
Well, I think we're pretty Russian roulette till you've got your state thing, and you also get April 11th, when they, the insurance. 17.
I think it would be helpful as the administrative team to know that, like, you're set on 5%, and if things come in, if that's what you want to be set on, then if things come in better than anticipated, then we can put some of those things back in, like.
You want this now or at 8?
It doesn't, it's. The sooner we know, like,
I think we should jump up and get another. We
Yeah.
did 5.2 last year. No, what was it?
5.2 last year, pretty sure it was.
And it's
5.2
basically, even at 5 or whatever, it was our town, but I think it must be our evaluation is level.
Yeah.
Because last year it was.
Your evaluations,
Yeah, it's after.
you're paying more because your evaluations went up in Dixfield, but obviously.
But that was the
three
first time.
Can you, the
percentage.
percentages, yeah.
I bet Brian can do that. You want this one or you want the other one?
The other one.
I think it's the other one before that.
Yeah, that one. So
They told me the happy mediums could be 6.78%.
no, I said 5.5, I'm trying to keep the negative as negative and the little, our little, well.
Can you go to the other one that you had, Brian?
Yeah, go to the next one then.
No, there you
That
go.
one.
So basically, if you went from a 5% to a 5.5%. You'd be looking at what?
Well, not about, probably another $15, because it's about a $30 swing, between each percentage, so $15 would be about
Many
half.
people have $100,000 houses.
Is Peru is 0 because it was a negative number before?
Peru
What did it-
told us that it didn't matter, it wasn't gonna impact.
The selectmen said that?
That's what when we called, and Mary actually got the email and then called to verify, and that's what.
They damn near had it like a tax revolt.
Yeah, they did that here.
I can only report what was
Tina
given to
said
us.
it would do the evaluation.
That was the white paper.
People in town for Peru ought to pay attention to that. It doesn't matter. Okay.
Is there any way for you to go back to can you go back to her first page where she had what she was gonna be doing for cuts? Okay, so if we look at, this is if we stayed at the 5%. I know you can't do it right now, but is there some way that you can get word out to the board of what would be these cuts and the other page that you had? If you moved it to 5.5 or 6?
We actually can give it to you now if you'd like.
You already done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, we did it.
Well, we didn't know it was seven.
But you already had, she's already got that plan.
Well, wait a minute.
I have a plan, I said somebody's gonna ask for this, we might try it. Done.
Good thinking.
She's always prepared.
She knew.
Oh. Oh, dear.
Sorry, Brian's gonna pull it out.
Quarter day, we're still in business.
I was told I didn't ask a lot of questions.
Really 4-7 cracks, back to standing time.
I didn't take my deal or no deal island.
You don't tape it, DVR.
A DVR, I see. Oh,
Your husband can't do that?
no. He
He's gonna
can
DVR?
actually, when he's at Rachel's, he can actually stream and push the right buttons to get live.
Okay. So Brian's gonna make it larger and show one thing at a time, I think.
Yeah, cause.
So if you slide way to the right, well, let's do it this way. So the first 0.5% of the cut, the first 71,000 that the administrative team prioritized as being removed from the budget would be the special ed tech at the high school. The hot water booster at the high school, because that's going already out. And social work at the middle school would be reduced by 5,000. And the tech related software at the elementary school would be 2,308. So
And
that's,
that's at 7.
that would get us down to 7.63%.
Okay.
The next part to get to 7.08%,
You add.
we do the high school, the elementary classroom teacher. And that is currently would be an open position because we have our retirement. The next one to get to 6.63, we would add in the guidance software, the social work contracted services at the elementary school, girls and boys tennis, the ecology club, the debate club at the middle school, and district curriculum materials of 2,000. Slide over to the next one. To get us to 6.14, we would cut the math interventionist at the middle school. We would remove some money from the field trip line at the high school. The PFAS filter would be gone. Supplies and equipment at the high school would be reduced by 4,000. The chess club would be gone. And curriculum work wage, we would reduce by 8,000. And I know those feel a little less like the curriculum work wage, like that's how we get a lot of work in professional development done with teachers. So we would be reducing that considerably. If we went to 5.62%, we would lose the library ed tech at the middle school and high school. We would lose the special ed teacher leaders and the hot water maker at the middle school. And then as you saw the rest of them, for the 5%, we would lose the special ed tech at the elementary school, the ELA interventionist at the middle school, and the ramp would be gone. So that's how we prioritize them across. So if you wanted to be at 5.5, it would be somewhere, it would be everything other than those last 3 things that are on the 5% cuts.
Oh, we already know that the 5,800 for the water booster isn't gonna be included because we've already found money for that.
Right, that's why it's in that first column, because we know that's gone and we already were able to take it out.
How about the $192,000 that we're gonna incur? Is that included in these numbers?
That is incurred in the beginning 8 whatever we were, 8.18. So that's in that 8.18. So, because we have to take, we have to bring them where they need to be. So we don't have any choice for that. So that's where we're currently started. And this is our cut list prioritized by the admin team. If we were doing it
All the way down.
We have to take them because we're nice or because the law requires it?
Because they now live in one of our 4 communities, or they will be by the time school starts next year. And they have IEPs that state where they go to school, that IEPs, as you know, are legal documents and you have to follow those IEPs. Heidi Conley does an awesome job with, when they're moving in, looking at like, can we rearrange that? Can we get them closer to here? Is it time to start thinking about a different placement?
But if the IEP team says otherwise, she said that she has zero control.
Right.
Okay. Right. I think it's important to point out that the more cool people think our district is, and they move in, how substantially out of control the budget's gonna get. Well, what if a few more moved in? And this isn't, and I want to be clear, this isn't about like, we don't care that kids don't. We don't not want them to get care. But what happens when more decide to move here, and now your budget's $1 million more? Because at 192,000, that went up really clear.
Yeah, I did.
So I think it's just important for us to point out that on a law level, it's out of control, like completely out of control. Because we have to absorb an unlimited cost. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, whatever.
It's safe to say that anybody that comes here that has an IEP, we need to follow that IEP unless it's completely so unreasonable. Like if they would had to be driven 2 hours each way, we would say that's
We can
unreasonable.
draw the line, okay.
Because we do have a draw the line, but we also, your special ed director goes and visits any and all of these placements when students move in, to visit the student, to see what the placement's like, to see if,
Right.
you know, to look to see if we can make recommendations to do something differently. And when she believes that there's a recommendation to be made, she'll make it. And when there's not, we kind of have to,
Between a rock and a hard place.
it's really hard. It's not any fault of anybody in this district. It's just,
No, I couldn't see it that way. I think it really is, we're dealing state and federal law.
but that's your cut list as in terms of prioritized by your administrative team.
Can that be sent to us?
I believe we could do that.
I
We
guess
need
it's
to
gonna come down
readjust
to, the shell game. Like, what can we get that the district's gonna, that can work for the district? What can we get that the board is gonna approve? And the biggest shell is gonna be what the community is gonna approve.
Right.
Because we can move forward with anything we want, but the communities are gonna vote on it. And I don't wanna move on something that's not gonna be supported by the community, because we know what that's like to have it back and.
It's not fun to do 5 rounds of.
No,
I don't wanna see that again, so. It's gonna take us a lot of rational thinking of what we're going to do. No, I don't see any way that this area could support what would keep us. Status quo. The question is what we're gonna prioritize that we're going to work with. To make something that's workable, keep the education moving forward. And get a community that's gonna support us.
Fair.
So I guess my next question is like, are we, when I come back next time and we have our constituents here and I just give an overview of where we're at. Is that, are we at 5% or are we at 5.5%? Or 6%, or like, where are we? What am I presenting next time when the constituents are here?
Consider the teacher cuts. Like, if we just look at teacher cuts, we're not at 5% if we're saying, well, if I'm saying that academics are gonna like trump just about all else, then to me, it's not 5%. Because I think that's a fantasy.
Well, we got bigger numbers now. And, I can see starting at 6 and looking at what it is, because I saw it was still negative for people. You have the 6.63, you had a 6.1. I think it really is gonna, them are two numbers to work for, but April 11th is gonna tell, because we may have to cut $100,000 if they, say 17.
We had a conversation in the administrative team, I'll be honest, like, what do we do if insurance comes in at 17.89? What do we do if we don't get any federal funds? What if we, like, we have these additional lists that are even more gross than the ones you
You get
just
an
saw?
answer, what do we do?
Well, as far as federal funds, we cannot support special education by ourselves. There's no way. Nobody. That, it's their mandate.
but we cannot afford it because it's not feasible. We don't have that.
I think realistically, you also. You have to start looking at what benefits we pay. And the distribution of those benefits and what a staff member is paying, like for instance, health insurance. If you have 17% increase, 18% increase, and we're paying 90% of health insurance. Then that can't be a thing going forward with that kind of increase. You have to start looking at who's absorbing what cost. Nobody wants to hear that, but there's a reality to the numbers.
Well, industry nationwide has cut back on health insurance. You know, we don't pay.
I'm not suggesting we do, but I think that. I think it'd be silly for us to pretend like things aren't on the table.
I know, but it's just like everything, like looking at where we buy and what we do.
Yeah.
And it's just being ready for anything. Like she said, we don't have a clue. If the state can get their budget done and hopefully our thing is where it was, I mean, there's always hope this, hope that.
Sure.
So
So
just be clear, it's more than just I know we think about, and I get it with the special ed department, but Title I, we have 2 teachers and 7 ed techs paid out of Title I.
yeah,
So that's also a pretty,
That is-
significant impact if we didn't get our Title funds. I just want to be,
because I do know, I look also at with, you know, Jason losing because he's got what, 9 teachers, 8 teachers besides interventionists?
Right now, 2 interventionists are teaching because of the position that was cut last budget. There was a period in the morning where 2 interventionists are offering intervention for those 2 periods. In addition, because of the last position, the librarian that also supports our RTI period 3, and has a group of students. There's no adult in the building without.
No.
That's not just the middle school, that's everything.
Yeah, I know, I know you have the smaller,
So I answered.
but I know like the social work, there's a lot.
so we did look at, well, I'll be honest, I looked at, and then I brought it to the admin team, the teacher to student ratio in all 3 of the buildings and what they are supposed to be with essential programs and services. I mean, that's one thing we looked at when we were thinking of like, if we have to make a cut, we need to look at all of the information that we have in all areas.
Do you have that? And was that just something you talked about, the student teacher ratio for school?
It's on my desk. Wait a minute, I do have it. It's also in my notes.
Can you?
1 second, I can tell you what it is if you'd like.
Okay.
So the people that are either retiring or leaving. I know that there's an ad in for the nutrition department, yeah, so, but are the other people who are just
She
gonna hold
hasn't-
off and not replace?
She has
So-
not advertised.
So the board administrator, I'm like, if anybody gives you a resignation or retires, we're going to hold off on hiring because the last thing I want to do is hire someone and then give them a pink slip.
Mm.
And poor Charlie just had about a 3rd person telling him he's like, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna strip you of 3 teachers, Charlie, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, because that is.
You can send it from an email if it's easier.
Yeah, if you want.
Well, I thought people might want to just know what it happens to be. So, currently the elementary teacher to student ratio, and this is all teachers, so it includes your music, your art, all of that stuff. Currently they're at 14.5 to 1. And EPS would be 17 to 1. It's what the state says you should have for such programs and services. The middle school is 18.5 students for every 1 teacher, and they should be at 17 to 1. And the high school is at 16 and EPS says 16 to 1.
So the high school's good.
The high school's good, middle school is slightly under, hence the like, if you take the interventionist away, Jason has to have half a world language because he has to be able to balance that out.
So what was the state on the middle school?
Middle school is 17 to 1.
Okay, and the state says 18.5.
No, we have 18.5. The
Okay,
state says 17 to 1.
oh, so they're actually,
We are we have fewer teachers than the state would say we should have for essential programs and services. We're spot on at the high school and we're slightly over at the elementary school.
And all of our staff is now reimbursed, you know, if we have a person in, you know, how the state doesn't reimburse if we don't have the correct.
So all,
I know when they do the emergency, that gives them that.
Yeah.
But I meant everyone is,
so we have, I want to be clear, we have one teacher who half of their position is still, getting organized.
okay,
So out of all of our teachers, we have a half a position that
that's good.
isn't certified through the DOE. They're certified in lots of other areas, but in the half a position that they're teaching, but they're working on it. They've already put in for their condition. I'm just waiting for that to come back.
One other question. Go ahead. Does Kenny have a full staff?
Kenny currently has a full staff.
All right. Any other things for you?
So I'm still like, I've heard 5.5, I've heard 6. I just want to know, like, do you want me to come back with what the cuts would be for 6, 5.5, 5? Like, I mean, you've seen 5, but like, where do you, and I know you're not voting on it tonight. It just really helps the administrative team to kind of really know where we're coming in. And it also helps me when the constituents are here to say, this is where we're currently at, feedback on what we currently have.
How about sixes?
6. You had a 6.1 something up there.
So that's close then.
Yeah.
6.77.
No, there was a 6.1 before. No,
Brian has them, so there's
there was a 6.1.
us,
Right there,
6.14.
Yeah. What do people feel?
I'm with it.
I mean, we're not making a decision, but it gives them at least.
We talked last year about like chess club and some of those, they were willing to, come up with the money on their own.
So if anybody wanted to donate to a certain thing, that could happen, but I wouldn't want my chess club to fundraise to pay for chess club, like that feels. Does that make sense? And I want to be clear, like, when these positions are cut, unless money comes in for them, they're cut, because people can't volunteer to do them if they're in a position that's stipended.
So do we obviously know what we had for an increase last year was 5.2. Do we know what we had for the last 5 years?
Yep, it was on my original, I'm gonna go back and find my original.
Last year, this was the first time that went up that much.
Yeah, because we were down,
Way down.
and then
Was that
209.
It was in this.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, do you wanna know over the years what the percentage increases were?
If you went back, like, well, we're shooting for the, you know, 25, 26, I mean, so you're gonna want to look at, you know, backing up at least 5 to 6 years of it. So what we would have, what we did from 5 years ago up through.
Yep. Okay, I have it in front of me, Brian now has it behind me.
Okay.
So you can see, like, from when we started, year 2017, 18, and then the next year, it was 1.5, but that was that funky year when CTE came out of our direct funding here, and it went to them. So then we had a 3.5, a 2.02, a 0, a 1.85, 2.64. Last year, we had a 5.3, and this year, well, that was 6.78 when I first. I got it.
Yeah, going, are you doing the 6.1, are you just doing the 6?
I don't know. I'm doing whatever the
I think
board.
we talked about 6.14 because it was conveniently up on the screen. Then did some work behind it. That's my thought process.
I'm just looking at from standpoint of what the community looks at. I know it sounds like 6.14. What's the difference between 6 and 6.14? To an outsider, that's a further, I'm just trying to stay round
Probably
even.
kind of irrelevant.
to keep things.
Right. 0.14 is, what is that? I mean, we could spell it out, but. I have to wonder if the community. Really, I mean, a lot of what they're basing it on probably in reality are not the nuts and bolts of it. Probably like the feeling of the moment, they're popular at the moment,
Increase in tax.
everything, and so. I'm not saying nobody thinks about it, but it's a very emotional decision. Because they've had enough of increases, so at some point they're gonna go, like Peru, and we're done. And I just have to wonder if we gotta pick a spot and go. And then there's gonna be some things that we are obligated by law, whether we like it or not. And that's really gonna determine it. I have no problem supporting just the 6.14, We need to make the details kind of on that.
Sounds, I mean, we're lucky. Maybe we have to tweak. Okay.
And your kids are.
Board member comments.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
A while back, we had instituted a kind of get to know the board. By the way, we got cookies and water. And maybe the water is the reason why people aren't coming to it. I don't think I've seen it. Could be, maybe something different. But I would say for anybody here, but anybody listening online, the board, I know the board, and I felt this way, that we want to get to know not only the community, because I think it's easy to look at what we do as we make people angry and we make people happy. But also I've heard, as I've dug around, is that, for instance, I talked to an educator today that said that it feels a disconnect with the board and maybe the teachers. And I think this is a great opportunity, the 15, 20, 30 minutes before our meeting, to come and actually engage some of the board members individually. And it's not, what this isn't on the record, isn't some kind of, we're not making decisions, but I think it's a good time to come. So I'd urge people, if you're at home watching, come and invite your friends. It's a great way to stay informed, and honestly, I think everybody is very honest, know the motivations of board members. It's important because these motivations are all with the community's best interest. And the best way to know is to ask. So I just encourage people to do that.
My only comment is, I didn't know if Mr. Murphy wanted to come sometime about adult ed.
He's coming next time.
Oh.
I prefer to say that because we already talked to them.
Yeah. Okay. And the board is very discouraging. I know we're not the only ones. I do know that, but it's discouraging. Positive.
Well, it's sad to see the people that are leaving, that are retiring. I know it's a great thing to retire, well, Diana. But I hope they're all doing the exit interviews because we'd like to pick their brains and find out just why they're leaving and what they think about the district and be honest. And I think people usually are.
Well, a couple of them said they suffered, so.
Yeah, well, I talked with Alan Tashney and he said, well, I'm gonna stop.
Oh, okay, I knew,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
yeah.
So on the last note, the board member comments, I'm gonna revert back to when I was talking about Region 9. I know we have not given this constituents numbers yet. We are working on them. I'm hoping, don't quote me on it, but I'm hoping within a week and a half from now, we will have numbers. We have met a lot of times, and we also put in a special finance committee that we're doing this Friday. That we're going to be hopefully having, we also put in a special board meeting for Region 9 to get numbers going. So not that that's trying to give you a relief, but as much as giving you information that hopefully will give you some numbers to tell you what we've got going on.
Thank you, Bruce. All right, superintendent's report.
So since we last met, I've had the opportunity to cover both the high school and the middle school. And I also covered a few IEPs at the elementary school as well during that time. And some Title I meetings at the elementary school. I continue to witness like our employees go above and beyond. So I had 2 different IEPs at the elementary school that the poor kindergarten teacher was out sick, but zoomed in for both of them and came really well prepared, had all the data on their students and gave a lot of good information and input into that. And then, as you already know, that Jessica Swan is also out on sick leave, and with Title I email her questions and she responds back like really quickly and keeping up on everything. And I just I think we forget sometimes how many hours our teachers and ed techs put in that it's beyond even their contracted hours. If you come by schools on the evenings, early mornings, weekends, there's quite often a car or two, and then to have people showing up at these meetings that they don't have to because they're out on sick time, it just really goes to show again how much they do for this district. I also want to applaud Gina Clucci, who's our nutrition director. She's advocating at the state and federal level to maintain support of our school nutrition programs. She's got some really good emails going out to the people that need to. She sent it out to you full staff, like if you want to, or administrative, if you want to continue to advocate. This is who you contact, so just really working for the nutrition program. I was also able to meet with the Darragh High School Social Studies team, along with Kaylin and Jason, and the Social Studies team is reviewing the best course offerings. They're not looking at changing standards or changing what they're teaching, but like how can they rearrange programming to make it more engaging for students and get their standards met in a nice way. And I also want to say that I attended a unified basketball game last Thursday. And if you have not had the opportunity to attend the game, I would encourage you to attend. It's really an uplifting experience. You can't help but smile when you're watching the games. And I don't want to put him on the spot, but I'm going to because he does it to me all the time. Can you tell us the dates of the upcoming games?
We have one this Thursday. We have one Tuesday, and we also have one next Thursday.
So this Thursday is at Mountain Valley at 3:30.
No, not this.
This Thursday is,
Okay. Tuesday is Mountain Valley, and next Thursday is here.
it's a home game next Thursday at 3:30 here at Darragh High School. So either next Tuesday at Mountain Valley at 3:30, probably be easy enough, or next Thursday here. And while Mr. Swan is getting ready to come up and present, I'll also say that Sonia Blaisdell, who is the middle school nutrition worker, I had reported out that she was going to retire at the end of the year. Well, she decided to retire early, so she has retired as of last Friday.
Oh, sorry, Gina. Okay, go ahead.
All right, hopefully I'll bring a little positive.
Oh,
in some areas to.
that would be nice.
Before Brian's gonna pull up here in just a second. So, our first thing, my mission statement, next slide. Darragh Elementary School prepares all of our students to be safe, respectful, and responsible citizens who are motivated to be lifelong learners. I think Pam, highlighted, the all part, my staff, goes out their way all the time to make sure that anybody who walks in the building, our students are welcomed and they give as much support and attention to them. You see that from the moment they arrive, to the moment they leave, and many hours in between them as well. So looking at attendance, so what you see here is truancy cases, pause truancy, truancy warnings, and chronic absenteeism. Second column, that the first number is the number we have this year versus the number we had last year. These are always in flux, but this was as of last week when I was going through this. So we, this year, have 5 truancy cases, 5 total truancy cases. 3 of those have been paused. As of yesterday, one of them was unpaused, so that's not quite accurate, but then truancy warnings. So these are students who have 4 to 6 unexcused absences, and we reach out to the family and say, hey, these are the list of the absences. If any of these were for excused reasons, please contact the office. We can make this one-time change. So this year we have 27 that are in that place versus 20 last year. And then chronic absenteeism, so this fluctuates throughout the school year because it's based on 10% of the actual school days. So we have 39 kids currently in that, whereas this time last year we had 57. So some positive news. So what are we doing about it on the next slide? You can click both of those, fine. So one of the new things we are doing is an Iron Cougar Award, which is based off of Cal Ripken's Ironman Award for baseball, where he went 17 consecutive years without missing a baseball game. So we created an Iron Cougar Award. So we run into problems with perfect attendance all the time. Like, what is perfect attendance? Somebody's at an appointment, they have this or that. And throughout the course of the year, that can get pretty hard to track in terms of actual perfect attendance. What we did was we said, we're going to do it month by month, and we're going to give it to one student in each grade. The teachers pick, and it's both. That person has to have perfect attendance, and when they come to school, they got to be showing us their best effort. They can't just be coming in and kind of disengaging from what we're doing here. Other things we're doing on the positive side is we are trying to do random fun events. We did one where we just was like, hey, for the next 15 minutes, everyone in the hallway going to play board games. Students don't know these are happening, the teachers do, but what we want to do is just get, hopefully, the word to spread a little bit, like, hey, that's something fun and cool that happened at school, and if you weren't here, you kind of missed out on that opportunity. But again, students don't know when they're happening, but the teachers do. All right. So this is office referrals, and when you look at this chart, the first kind of big couple columns is last year versus this year, and when you look across, as odd as it is, it's almost identical to where it was last year, and almost every number and percentage there, they're off by just a little bit in some ways, but pretty close to being identical to last year. The great thing that I like to highlight is that about 90% of our kiddos come to school this year and have had 2 or fewer office referrals written up on them. That means that 90% of our students are coming and meeting our expectations and doing what we're asking them to do in a safe, respectful, and responsible way each day. So this is another graph that we pull off from Swiss. This is our by grade referrals, so the number of referrals by grade. What you're seeing on the bottom is last year, and what you're seeing on the top is this year. And they look, again, almost identical, except you see the second graders became third graders. And that's the group that we're having the most office referrals so far this year. All the other groups are pretty balanced, pretty low key. Our kindergarten number this year is a little higher than normal for kindergarten. But that's because we had a huge number of kids in kindergarten this year who came to us new, never been to our pre-K or any pre-K, and that just takes a lot to kind of get them into the school mindset and moving forward that way. All right, so when you look at this number, this represents every student in our school. Each of these little bars represents every student in our school who's had 3 or more office referrals. And if you look at the red circle on the right side, that's our top 6. Will account for 48% of all of our referrals, our total referrals. So those 6 students kind of are about half of our office referrals. So what do? Each of these students are on some kind of a support plan to help them with their behavior. And that ranges from check in, check out, which is kind of an individualized plan where they have a sheet of paper and they take it around with them. And each part of their day, they get like, hey, we did great here, way to go. And then oftentimes that equals some kind of a prize or reward that they can shop for at the end of the week or whenever it's set for them. And that ranges all the way up to, placement into WFRP, if that's what the IEP team feels like is the best support for that student. So it ranges from that, but each of those students are receiving some kind of individualized support and help with their behavior. All right, moving on. So I've mentioned a lot of times about our reading program, and really there's 4 parts to our reading program. And you hear these terms, so I just want to kind of break it down for what it is, so that when you're hearing it in different parts, you kind of have a little connection. Oh yeah, Charlie talked about that. So Amplify CKLA is the name of our reading program, and that is our pre-K to grade 5. So every grade in the school uses that. It's a bit different in pre-K, but still linked to the K program, but just not quite as much as the other grades. In pre-K to grade 3, there's a skills and knowledge section. In grade 3, they actually begin to combine those 2. So when you're talking skills and knowledge in terms of reading, skills are like decoding the words, understanding that
letters make sounds and, I put those sounds together and I get words and sentences. And then the knowledge is the vocabulary and the background information. So if I'm reading a book about baseball, I have to know about baseball to really get a kind of an understanding of what this book's all about. So that's our reading program. Underneath that, there's 3 parts. We have an online component, which is called Boost. And this is really tailored to the individual needs of the students based on their assessment data. And so they can work individually. Our goal is that each student spends 30 minutes on that. That's the recommended time for them to get some tailored support at their level. This also gives students who are learning above grade level a chance to get a little more enrichment in things that are kind of, again, at their level. So
At
in class,
at all grade levels, they're doing 30 minutes.
not pre-K. Pre-K doesn't do Boost, but K to 5. It varies a little bit, Barb, but that's our goal is 30 minutes per week.
Per week.
Per week,
not
not
a
day, per week. M class, we adopted this year and replaced our NWA reading with that. We do still do NWA reading in grades 3 to 5 because those are also linked to what the state assessment is. We don't do that in K to 2, but M class is our reading. We switched this because it's aligned more to our reading program, and also it gives us more specific data on what the student is actually struggling with, and then actually helps us group those students, which is really a benefit for our staff. The last part is something that we just started tiptoeing in this year. It's called interventions. Our Title I has used this. They're very comfortable with it. They've been trained a couple times in it. On our March workshop day, the rest of our staff will get a 3-hour training on this as well. And what this is a program that is to help students who are lagging in skills. It gives them specific lesson plans, activities, and things to do with kids. Very, very scripted and very direct to address certain deficits that kids have. So that's our 4 parts. You're going to hear those different things at different times I talk, or Jason may reference, or Brian may even reference some of them. So I just wanted to kind of break those down for you. This is awesome. Awesome highlight. So if you don't know Mr. Dunbar, he's the guy on the left holding the guitar. Mr. Dunbar used to teach music at DES and then went to Mount Blue and came back here this year. We finally got him in the classroom in January. If you ever have a chance to go sit in on Mr. Dunbar's music class, go sit in on his music class. One of the best places to be at DES when he's there. Kids are engaged. They're loving it. I love hearing kids in the hallway say, I can't wait for music. We have music today. They're excited about music, which is extremely awesome. And he is a terrific individual. Also want to give a big shout out to Mr. H, the music, the band and choir teacher here at the high school and at the middle school, because he and I connect often about bringing those students over to the elementary school. And the kids at the elementary school obviously love seeing the middle school and high school kids perform. It's just that they're quiet as can be when the high school, middle school kids are there, and their attention is awesome. So thank you, Mr. H, for doing that. All right, Read Across the America activities. That's what we're currently doing. The month of March is across elementary schools across the country. We do a lot of different activities to celebrate. It's in honor of Dr. Seuss, but also a way to kind of just keep reading at the forefront of our families. So these are some of the activities we did. We did the Spirit Week last week. That's my lovely Crocs and Socks Day that we had. Each of the Spirit Week days were attached to a book that the teachers could read with their students. The last day was Mouse Dash Day. So if you give a mouse a cookie was the name of the book, and the PTO bought all the kids little fake mustaches to wear for the day. We've had one author visit already. Sarah Sachs is the main author who came, and she's an illustrator author. She came and did a presentation to grade 3 to 5 and some parents. And then Lynn Ford is another main author, and she's coming next week to do workshops with pre-K to grade 2. We had a sock decorating contest, not real socks, paper socks, but the winners got real funky socks. The PTO bought them some funky socks for prizes. I just want to give a big shout out to Mrs. Patherbridge. She's the one that organizes this, and she's the one that secured a grant to help get here. And then also Ms. Holmquist has been a big part of that as well, among many other people, but those two have really put in some time in this. Family Fun Math Night. Last week we had this, 110 people attended, which was awesome.
We had 12+ different game activity centers across the gym and cafeteria. We gave away 15 door prize. It's organized by the DES math committee. We've had math nights before where we've had 20 people show up and it was kind of So the math committee was like, hey, we really want to go after this again. So they really promoted it. We got a lot of people through the door. And what was awesome is you don't always see this, but the parents and family that came were with their kids, doing activities with their kids, engaged with their kids, which is exactly what we wanted. And then everyone who came went away with a bag of goodies that were, these are some fun things you can do at home with dice and cards and activities. I have a list of people up there who gave in different ways for door prizes that we drew and gave those out to the kiddos the next day. Certainly thankful for all of them for helping to be a part of that. But again, I need to thank Amy Gammon, who she's the head of the math committee. She and the whole math committee, most of them were there that night, but Amy put in a lot of time making sure that this went as well as it did. So it was a great night. All right, this is the numbers requested for me. I think the last time I was here, maybe doing the budget, or maybe the last time I was doing my admin reports, people had asked like, hey, what are these numbers? We're curious about these. As far as what's going on in DES. So number of students who have moved away from DES since the start of the school year 27, number of students who've moved into DES since the beginning of the school year 34, students known to have moved to homeschooling is 7, and students known to have moved to private school is 6. March workshop coming up next Friday. Our big focus, as I mentioned before, will be on that interventions program that our Title I has been using, and our grade 2 has also been using it. And we're going to hopefully train the rest of our grades so that they can begin implementing that for the final trimester, and hopefully it will become incorporated throughout next school year. And then pre-K is getting prepped for pre-K registration. They're also doing some work with purchasing some things for our 3-year-old program. And special teams is going to be working on Arts Alive, as that's coming up soon. And special ed, the majority of special ed will be at DES from across the district. They're going to be doing a TCI training. Gretchen will be leading that with them. Just want to say this in case people are listening out there. We are doing pre-K, and we are now doing K registration at DES. So if you have a student who is turning 4 by October 15th or 5 by October 15th, and you want to sign them up for pre-K or K, just call the school. We'll take down your information and then get a packet sent out to you. Coming up at DES, as I mentioned, March 18th next week, when the author will be coming. March 20th is the end of trimester 2. Really hard that it's coming so fast. April 17th, another thing that Ms. Petherbridge has helped, the Portland Stage Company is coming to DES to do some performance and workshop with us. And then our Arts Alive is April 29th and May 1st, but 29th is K-2, May 1st is 3 to 5. If you don't get a chance to come to that, either of those nights, come at some point in the spring to walk through the school, because it is awesome to see the school with all the student artwork on the walls. It's really an awesome transformation. I think that's it. Right, Ryan? Okay.
Any questions?
Go
ahead.
As much as a question, as much as a comment, are we going to eventually have like a board meeting with one of the other schools? So would that be an opportunity?
We could, now that we are not doing anything more than the hour. Before, when we had all of this stuff, it was really challenging. Brian is still giving me a look. It's more challenging, like going to a different place because stuff is here, but that's what the board would like once a year, to be in each of the other schools once. I could figure out.
Yeah. Any other?
Guess that's a yes.
Just a question.
Yeah.
I would, but not just one voice.
No, I think it's a good idea.
No, I mean, once a year we can do it, I think, because it is hard to.
Be a great opportunity to see Charles building and see what, make it planned so that you'd be there when you see all this material drawn.
Yeah.
And pay Brian and cookies. That's reality.
Any other questions? Okay, are you done?
I am, thank you.
Good job. Yeah. Okay, we already had Camden. policy committee, we did meet, we went through one policy, the social media for employees. We'll have a first reading and we'll get back and have a meeting. When we have, I gotta look at the schedule. Finance committee, I don't think they're meeting, we're doing this,
Not bad.
curriculum,
Nothing yet.
okay. Buildings and grounds, negotiations, Bruce.
Not right now.
Yeah, personnel, Natalie's not here. I do know they advertised for lunch. I saw that. Brian doesn't know. The lunch program. And, oh, ad hoc committee, did we meet? Yeah,
Sure.
last week. I keep thinking, did we meet before?
We also had drop off prevention committee meeting after.
Oh,
So I'll start with ad hoc. We have been over a lot of data that is collected around civil rights violations. I think majors, and then how else do we refer to it, Jason? There's majors and then there's actual civil rights violations.
Any referral that goes to an administrator for support is considered a major.
Okay.
And then there's a certain percentage of those that are, the reason they were referred is because there's some aspect of it that we describe or label as civil rights violation, the lack of those.
I would say, I'd expressed that it seemed it was odd that we were getting so specific with the information, but it was smartly done by DES or RSU 56 leadership, because you need to be able to put way to quantify information. We agree that that was important. Additionally, I think we reaffirmed essentially the mission of the civil rights team and the ad hoc committee was to make it very clear that at a baseline, we're trying to create now, I'm not speaking for everybody here, but I think we're trying to create a level of understanding and respect in the schools where people feel welcome and kids get to learn. We talked about diversity today, and that was very successful and why that was successful. And because the conversations and the presentations were very diverse, it was really more around helping kids understand that there's a big world out there and there's a lot of people and different situations to understand. So I thought the meeting went really well. I would add also, we had a drop-off prevention committee meeting, and I think, to put it frankly, that maybe we're gonna make some changes there that could be very good, that focus on engagement, and so there'll be more to be had about that. With that being said, I don't think we have a giant dropout problem, but when I talked to Pam today, it's enough of a problem. So we have to keep our energy on that, and there'll be more to come on that as well.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, that is everyone, no executive session, could I have a motion? All those in favor, thank you. You may